You're listening to The Blind Chick, an Aftersight original podcast. We're telling you stories about strength, overcoming hurdles, and living experiences. We see who you really are. Blindness can be an adventure. Are you ready for the journey of a lifetime? We are.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Blind Chick. That's Moses Street.
And that is Penn Street. The Blind Chick. Foraging a trail through the wilderness of blindness.
Okay. So all of you out there, we have shared over the last few episodes about our audio trekker hike. It's our annual hike here at Aftersight. This year was our 5th year. This year was our biggest ever. We had more people in attendance. We had little kids all the way up to there was one lady there in her 80s. I won't say her name because I know she's a friend of the pod and she'd be really embarrassed if I said that. So, but it was just an incredible hike. And this year it was extra special because today's guest flew in all the way from Guatemala. And I can't wait for all of you to get to know him. Moses and I spent the whole weekend of the hike with him and just had incredible conversations and friends for life now. But everybody, I want to welcome Scott to our show today, all the way from Guatemala. Scott, welcome to The Blind Chick.
Thank you, Penn. And Moses, where's my ghostly introduction? Thank you. It's very special to be here.
Awesome. Well, Scott, you have an incredible background. I know you didn't lose your vision until you were like 19, if I remember right.
I started to, yeah.
Yeah, but up until then, you really didn't have vision loss even on your radar. Just take us back a little bit before we get started in your adventuring, what that was like. How did you even know that something was maybe going on with your vision and that transition into our wonderful, beautiful vision loss community?
Yes. I was 19 when I was first diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa. And the way that happened was I was just getting fitted for a pair of contacts, and the optometrist told me that something didn't look quite right. So he shipped me off to Massachusetts Eye and Ear, and that's where I was diagnosed. And then since then, I've been re-diagnosed twice. But no, my mom and I have talked a lot about this in the past, and I don't remember this, but she told me that when I did have a driver's license for a few years, and she told me that I would refuse to drive at nighttime or in the rain, and I just didn't like it. I didn't know why I didn't like it.
Oh, so you didn't associate it. You didn't associate it with I can't see.
No, I just thought I really don't like this, and I was a terrible driver. And in retrospect, I like to think that it was because I didn't have the depth perception that I needed to be a good driver. But I might have just been a horrible driver either way. But also,
there are a lot of people out there that are, have 20/20 vision and have no vision issues that are terrible drivers.
Yes,
so yeah.
But when stepping further back, when I was 15, I went to Australia for a year as an exchange student, and the guys in the school figured that being from the US, I knew how to play baseball. And I guaranteed them that I was not good at baseball. And again, I didn't know why, but I just knew that team sports were not something that I was meant for. Yeah. But they put me on the baseball team regardless. And they put me as the catcher. on the team. And so I would be there in the crouch position, and there would be, a ball whizzing past my face or hitting me in the chest or whatever. I was awful. I lasted 2 weeks, and then they finally released me from the team.
They believed that you were not a good baseball player.
Yeah. And so even before I knew that something was going on, in retrospect, I had indications. But since I was diagnosed with RP, and then ultimately re-diagnosed a couple times, I have lost my sight to now. I have 2 degrees of functional sight.
Is that in the central, or
It's
is
in the
it
central
peripheral?
of my left
Eye.
and then I have a little bit of peripheral. But a lot of I do have light sensitivity, but it's all very blurry.
Wow.
And so, but so it goes.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
while you were talking, I came up with a good comeback, because everybody wants to know how you lost your sight. It's like the first question every time you meet somebody. And I thought, so a comeback would be, well, as you know, sight is really valuable, and my sight was so valuable, I put it in a glass jar and I buried it in the backyard.
Exactly.
And I have dug up the whole backyard, and I still can't find it. So I guess
I just don't see it anymore.
Oh my God. So when you went away, because I think you were young, like 15, 16, when you did the exchange student
15,
in Australia. Was that sort of your first experience? And is that where you caught the bug of, being sort of this global explorer?
No, my first memory may be of Bermuda when I was 2. I know that we went as a family. It was my parents and me and my sister. And my sister at that point was 6 weeks old. And I have what I think is a memory, but it also might be just a Corona commercial that I adopted into my memory of, a white sandy beach and palm trees in the ocean. And, and so I know that I went to Bermuda when I was little. But then my parents love to travel. In fact, right now they're in Africa on safari, and they love to travel. And so my sister and I really benefited from that. And we went so many places with them. And then I grew up in Connecticut, and it's no reflection on my family at all, but according to my globe, Melbourne, Australia was as far away from Connecticut as I could get. So that's why I ended up in Melbourne.
That's usually how people pick their colleges too.
Yeah.
In universities, it's like, how
exactly.
far away can we get from family?
Exactly. And while I was there, I had signed up with a large international exchange organization, and the community coordinator that I was supposed to have, she quit while I was on the plane from LA to Sydney. And they never replaced her. They like the company didn't put anybody in her place. And so I was there and on the other side of the world and completely in charge of myself, which is
wow, a 15-year-old dream, right?
Oh yeah. Which is why I mean that not only ignited the travel bug, but the independent travel bug. That last. It's still just strong.
Yeah, and I know one of the cities that you visited when you were young is Prague, and you spent quite a bit of time there, and kind of made that city your own. Like I think you shared that you kind of knew it like the back of your hand
in the early 2000s. Yeah, when my eyesight was
better.
Much better, and I was still useless at night, but but during the day I knew it very, very well.
Yeah, but then you went back not too long ago with your spouse, with your beautiful wife, and tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so Alejandra, my wife, and I went back to Prague 3 years ago, it was the first time that I'd been back in Prague since I lived there. So it had been 20 years since I'd been there. And even though I knew where the hotel was, like in my mental map of the city, I knew where the hotel was, but because my sight had decreased so much, I couldn't do anything by myself. I couldn't leave the hotel because Prague is like a labyrinth of streets and imposing buildings and whatnot, and so I just really couldn't leave. I could barely get myself out of the elevator. I mean, like I was really tapping around everywhere, and I was very resistant to using a cane.
Yeah.
And so I was really at a loss, right? And Alejandra and I were in Prague after we'd walked for a week on the Camino de Santiago in Spain.
A dream of mine.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. And as a blind person, it's very liberating because there are no well, there are cars, but people are conscious of the peregrinos, which is what all the pilgrims are called. And nobody's running you down, and it's wonderful. But Alejandra was justifiably tired after that, and I wanted to go back and visit all my old places, right? And go to a really loud rock show and go to the beer garden that I used to go to, and so on and so forth. But I couldn't get to these places by myself. And Alejandra is not a loud rock and roll kind of person. And so we just found it both frustrating and just frustrating and sort of defeating in a way that there was nothing that either of us could really do. Because she didn't want to go to to some of the places that I wanted to go, but I didn't want to just like hang out. I wanted to be on the move,
right?
And so that was where independence really crashed into reality.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think a lot of our listeners out there can understand and remember that point where you kind of cruise by and you kind of fake it, like fake being sighted to a certain extent. And I think we can, most of us can also relate to not wanting to use our cane because of the symbol sometimes that it represents.
Oh, yeah.
But then we hit that point, right? Like, because this does suck. This actually is more of a disability if I don't embrace it, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I would use the word embrace. I don't think I've ever embraced it, but I do use it now. I do use it. And it's true. I mean, even let's see, I guess it would have been 2 years ago or something like that. I was still very resistant to it.
Yeah.
And I would still go around and fall down all the time and whatnot. But a good friend of mine in Antigua, Guatemala, where I live, a good friend of mine named Wendy, basically threatened my life if I didn't start using the cane. So I thank her for being such a strong advocate for the cane. She's not blind herself. She just didn't want me to get hurt.
Well, she also didn't want her friend falling down.
Exactly.
Everybody thinking she was hanging out with the drunk guy or something.
Yeah, exactly. And Alejandra had for years, been sort of edging towards the idea of me using a cane, but I think she, as my partner, she knew that this was a sensitive topic, and it was easier to have Wendy, who's a big personality and a wonderful person,
and doesn't live with you.
No, exactly. So she could say, "Do this," and then she could disappear.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, it really. It was a game changer,
yeah.
Awesome.
In a lot of ways.
To me, that delay because you're, as a sighted person, you're always thinking, well, of course you're going to get the cane. And then in defense of the cane, and anybody out there listening, if you come up with any ideas, we got to turn the cane into a symbol of strength and a symbol of, I want to meet that person because he's got a cane. And like not the white cane, but canes were incredibly popular up to through the 20s. And but going back,
that's right. They were like a fashion statement.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
I thought I would get one of those canes. I was like, I'm not going to use the white cane. I'm going to use one of these canes from like 1925.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it didn't work.
I was going to say, how'd that work out for you, Scott?
That one didn't work. That was not a good idea.
But then you'd have to learn how to walk like Charlie Chaplin and
exactly.
There you go.
Do
tuxedo every day.
Yeah, do great
and a top hat.
do great Fred Astaire dance things with a cane.
I do that anyway. You just haven't seen it, Moses.
Yeah, but on the point though that long delay that everybody has until they just have to do a cane, it hit me the other day. I don't think people should wait so long, if at all. But you're learning all these cues to make up for what you can't see,
right?
Because you won't take a cane, which gives you a lot of good experience for once you do start using a cane.
Right.
Yeah, but you have a lot less bruises and cuts.
Yeah, there's
you learned early.
Well,
not that you won't have bruises and cuts even after you use the cane.
Penn had so many bruises from all the sports she did that when we'd meet new people, I'd have to go, I did not hit her. I did not hit her. She did that.
That's from riding the bike the other
day. Rock climbing.
In Antigua, we're very fortunate to have a housekeeper a couple days a week, and she used to freak out in the beginning. She used to get really freaked out by blood on the floor all the time.
Oh no.
And it was me. Like I'm notorious for trying to cut my toenails and cutting one of my toes off instead. And there would always be blood on the floor and Alejandra just was it happens. It's gonna happen.
We're not a serial killer family.
Exactly.
It's just Scott trimming his toenails. Well, Scott, I know that you sort of have taken your love of travel and adventure and have actually turned it into a career, blind pilots. And I would love for you to share that and how that sort of came into being. And I think maybe some of these aha moments with your travels and discovering what true independence is sort of was the ignited blind pilots. But can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. The aha moment was really that trip in Prague. And the frustration that both Alejandra and I felt, and just thinking something's got to change.
Yeah.
And how can it change? And that's where I really started thinking about the kind of program that I would want to sign up for. I basically designed blind pilots in a way that I would be my own client. And
I love that.
Well, it's the most natural way to do it, I think, right? And so I started thinking about independent travel, which is, again, something that has always been near and dear to me.
Right.
I lived for a number of years out of a backpack, and I just loved it. And then efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Where if I'm in a new place, I don't want to spend 2 days just tapping around the block.
Right.
I want to get to where I want to go to. And I want to do it efficiently as possible because vacation time is limited.
Yes.
And I really want to enjoy what I'm there to do. Wherever there might be, I want to do what I want to do. And also a big piece of it was easing the feelings of responsibility from Alejandra or whoever my sighted travel partner is, because Moses, I'm sure I know you relate with this because we have conversations about this, but but Alejandra is an extraordinarily caring and helpful person. That's just her nature.
Yeah.
And that is her go-to with me. But on the other hand, Penn, as I'm sure you probably are, hands off.
Yes.
I want to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this myself.
Yeah.
And that can lead to some flashpoints.
Yeah.
Right. And so being developing something where those feelings of responsibility are eased from our sighted partners,
Yeah.
whoever it might be, a spouse, a brother, sister, mom, dad,
Yeah.
whoever it might be.
Yeah.
Just take that piece out of the equation, and then blind pilots. First of all, blind pilots is the name is because of a band that I really like in Portland, Oregon. I lived there for 4 years, and so they're my inspiration for the name.
I love it.
And again, it's independent travel it's personalized independent travel for blind and low vision people, and especially those who feel that international travel has gotten out of reach due to their sight loss. Right. And I know I felt that way for a while. And I believe that there are a number of people that feel that way.
Yeah.
And so with Blind Pilots, we're featuring both urban experiences and wilderness adventures, which is what brought me to go on the Audio Trekkers hike this past weekend. And I've already started making plans to come back and do adaptive skiing and all this kind of stuff. So,
awesome.
I've set a trip up in Antigua, Guatemala, where I live. That's like a history and culture tour that is based in local legends and storytelling. So it's an audio experience, and then each of those legends is paired with an activity that is related with those legends, and those activities run from making corn tortillas to having a luxury picnic in a lava field to spending the night on top of a very iconic Guatemalan volcano.
I love what you're doing, because I know when we travel internationally, the first thing I do is I, kind of figure out the room or the suite, or for an Airbnb, like the home base, right? Like I think we all do. And then I venture out to like the few blocks around me, right? Like so that if, usually the first thing I do is, where's the nearest coffee house for me? And then it gets a little big, because Moses and I, when we travel, 2 weeks is the minimum. Like we would never travel internationally for a week. I don't know how people do it, but we always do 2-3 weeks preferably. And sometimes more. We've been gone as long as 3 months, but it's, I go out and I kind of create, my world a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger. But what I love about what you're doing is, it's not just going for a hike. Like, yes, it would be great to hike a volcano, right? But you are incorporating the history and the culture and almost like all of the senses, right?
Yeah.
Not because a lot of times when we go somewhere, we, like even if you go surfing, right? Like we'll go to the beach and we'll go surfing, or we might go hike to a cenote or something. But I don't know the history of that beach, or I don't know what's nearby, or what is this cenote, who found it, what's the significance of it, or anything. And I sometimes am able to find that research on my own, but what a beautiful thing to, like you're doing, is you have that set in place. We're going to go do this, and this is kind of the why, and here's the history, and this is what's going on around you, and then also getting your hands at, like I shared with you that the last the last 3 trips we've actually gone on internationally, we actually did cooking classes, so we got to experience that. And I was obviously the first blind low vision person, but they loved it because it gave them, it opened their eyes up to what was possible for them, not just to other blind and low vision people, but also to their regular customers. And then this last trip we went to Scotland, we actually did a purse making experience. And that was awesome because it was completely tactile. And she told the history of the materials that we were using, and it was so cool. So Scott, what are these, especially these ones that you just mentioned, the ones, and they're coming up at the beginning of 2026, correct?
Which ones?
The ones in Antigua.
Antigua's already active.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm sorry. It's active online, but the trips, they are a week long each. There's one in January, February, March, April, May, and then November. Okay. Oh, no, we're not doing anything during the rainy season because nobody wants to be on a volcano during the rain. So we're skipping the rainy season, but Antigua is in a region of Guatemala known as the land of the eternal spring. And so when it's sort of gross and dreary and dark in the U.S. during winter, it is bright, blazing sun and beautiful weather dry season in Guatemala. So that's for 2 tenths. Anybody who doesn't like winter, you can take a break and come down to Guatemala. But also a really an important feature of blind pilots is that I personally train our sighted guides, and
that's awesome.
And so again, that's the urban experiences as well as the wilderness, and so I go and I train about how to walk down the street with a blind person, and if there's a crowd, what do you do? If there's a skinny doorway, what do you do? Or if you're on the side of a mountain, that has switchbacks and you've got to cross some boulders, what do you do? Because again, the one of the components is efficiency, right? And so if you want to go from A to B to C to D, if it's possible in one day, why not do it in one day instead of 4 days, right? And so another feature of it is that you were talking about the hotels. And I also go ahead and I go on all the trips ahead of time. And so I can talk about all of them from first-hand experience. And I also go into the hotels. I work with the hotel staff so that they know how to work with blind guests. I go to make sure that there's no, if there aren't steps that are going to break our ankles or things like this. And so that when people sign up, they can be sure that all the blind boxes have been ticked.
Nice.
And then all the guides have been trained about how to confidently work with blind people and not grab a cane or, I once had somebody grab me by the shirt to try to show me where my seat was, and
that's so
not
awful.
To do things like that, right? And so it's really, again, going back to designing the kind of trip that I would want. It's dictated by the blind traveler saying, I wanted, I'm going to need Paris, right? I don't have anything Paris yet. With Blind Pilots isn't there yet, but I want to do all these things when I'm in Paris. And then there will be a guide that is trained to go with you to all those places. And the sighted partner can be part of it or not, depending on what they want to do. And if they choose not to be, if they choose to do something separate, then they can know that their blind loved one is going to return safe and sound and happy, and everybody is enjoying their their experience, their vacation.